Hello and welcome to the latest edition of the Buffalo Roundup, your podcast home for all things VHS athletics. I'm Drew Shaltry, joined as always by Cody Hills. Looking forward to a great episode today. It is the 1st of October. We're releasing this on the 2nd, but hey, we're getting ready to get into Halloween season. Buffalo football putting the scare into some people early on this year, and looking for that to keep going. So
that's pretty good. And it's hopefully cooler, maybe
hopefully a little bit cooler. Yeah,
high 70s maybe at kickoff Friday night.
That'd be nice. Get some actual football weather. We've been sweating it out through the fall. So of our athletes, it's been a busy season, and we're getting into what we would call the home stretch. So we're gonna update you on the latest happenings, but we're also going to take a little bit of a look ahead. Playoffs start for pretty much every fall sport during this month of October. So we're going to get you the first look at what these Buffalo teams are expecting as they head to the postseason. And other than that, pretty much your usual run-of-the-mill stuff from us here on the Buffalo Roundup.
And as a reminder that as you wait for each new edition of the Buffalo Roundup, you can find all you need to know about the Village's high school sports at any time by visiting our athletics website. We've got a digital home just for you, complete with scores, schedules, rosters, and other info, such as ticketing and live stream broadcasts of Buffalo athletic programs right at your fingertips. Be sure to check us out online today at athletics.tvcs.org.
All right, starting as always with the Buffalo football team, 6-0 to start the season, best start in years for this VHS program, coming off of arguably their best win of the season, 40-0 over Bellevue. Homecoming is officially this week, but it was a homecoming of sorts. And the Buffalo returned not only to impress their fans, but to impress a lot of fans. This Buffalo team is starting to draw a crowd now to the H.G. Moore Stadium.
It really is. Andrew, I think we got to confirm, it's the largest crowd we've ever had. So thank you if you came out to it. The largest crowd we've ever had at H.G. Moore Stadium last Friday night. And so, yes, with homecoming this weekend, hoping for a little bit more. So again, take that call and come on out. But yeah, it was a really impressive performance for this Buffalo football team, especially defensively. It's their 4th shutout this season. Once again, just really laying waste to an opposing offense. Defensive coordinator Myra Geist doing what he would just call a good job defensively, right? I think there's still more in the tank for that defense and who they want to be. I think starting to have a little bit of an identity, but in terms of just going out, it's not about just going out and trying to beat somebody, at least from the defensive side of the ball. It's not about stopping them, not allowing them to score. It's really about dominating them. It's no first downs. It's turnovers. I mean, it's the type of thing that, 3 and outs are gold, it seems like, around this program, around that defense right now. So played extremely well last Friday. You mentioned the shutout. Again, 4th one of the year. Held them to 75 yards of offense on 39 plays. Bellevue did not have anything going in the passing game whatsoever. The run game, even some of the design runs with the quarterback play, we talked about leading up to the matchup on the pregame show last week, Drew, about, a 3-headed rushing attack, on offense for that Rattlers team. And the Buffalo gave no ground anywhere to it all night long. Bellevue kept trying to go to it, and VHS was there to answer. So it was a really good effort, I think, defensively out of this Buffalo unit. Dom Lopez, Cole Logan, especially the linebackers, Robert Sullivan, L. Rivers there up front, Ashton Hunt. I mean, you start looking at this front, this first, 5, 6, 7 guys, you're starting to see, I think, this Buffalo defense come into its own a little bit, and these guys are starting to really sort of play with a ton of confidence. I think that's what we're seeing more than anything. And then offensively, last week, we teased during the pregame show that I would like to see just more of a balanced, at least downhill running game.
They couldn't have delivered on your request any more perfectly.
Yeah, Coach Pettis, I don't know if he's watching or what, but Antoine Johnson I thought was really good in that traditional fullback spot that we use in the offense. 9 carries, 131 yards, a couple of touchdowns, and just seemed, again, confident, right, in his role. That's probably his 2nd or 3rd game where he's kind of been back there in a more featured tailback type role. I thought he looked really good. I thought he looked confident. I thought he looked like he was decisive as to when to hit the hole, when to maybe be patient and wait for an opening. But all in all, 40-0, you're never going to be upset about that. Penalties, again, though, reared their ugly head a little bit for this Buffalo football team. They took care of the football. That's good. But the penalties is something that we have started to see in a few games this year, Drew, where the numbers have crept up a little bit higher than Coach Pettis and this coaching staff would like. So certainly want to try to curtail that as you get in some bigger games in the month of October. But all in all, you're never going to talk to Coach Pettis afterwards. I'm never going to turn away a victory, especially a 40-0 win.
Big one, definitely. And for context of what we were laughing about with the balance, 189 yards passing, 189 yards rushing, as even as it could possibly be What's that? 378 total yards of offense to 75 is a net that the Buffalo will definitely take in any given week. So that's generally going to get it done for you. Moving on this week, Crystal River, different kind of opponent, expecting a little bit more physicality, maybe not the sort of offensively prolific Crystal River team that we've seen in recent years, but another challenge coming in for the Buffalo.
It is, and another first-year head coach, right? Crystal River first-year head coach Chris Cook taking over this year. And it's something that VHS had to deal with a little bit this year. Help me out here, but Wildwood, obviously a new first-year head coach. Going back to Citrus, first-year head coach.
Yep, Bellevue.
At Bellevue. So, I mean, again, it's the fourth time in 7 weeks now that, film helps you so much, but you got a head coach trying to bring in a new culture, a new swagger, a vibe to his team, maybe different personnel, play calling, just scheme, the way that he wants to run things. So, Buffalo head coach Richard Pettis and this coaching staff had a little more homework probably this week. But it's a Crystal River team. Look, on paper, 2-4 is the overall record. They've struggled here recently. Got a couple of good wins early. I think Fave and Westport started 2-0, some decent wins there. Dropped 4 straight since then, including a common opponent. They lost to Lecanto 49-0. And VHS picked up that win over the Panthers 38-20. So if you're a fan of the transitive property, you probably feel good about this from a Buffalo standpoint. But yeah, I agree. I think a ton of grit, in Crystal River. You see it on film. They're well coached. Chris Cook has them playing hard. They're definitely not a whole lot of surprises, right? Not a whole lot of, wolf in sheep clothing type thing. They're going to come at you with a downhill physical rushing attack, and they're going to try to beat you to that physicality point on defense. They're going to try to stop that ground game first and force VHS to open it up through the air, where Jay Kennedy's been really darn good this year. I think 18 touchdowns, no interceptions throwing the football, eclipsed the 1,000-yard mark last week. So I think VHS keeping that balance, obviously goal number one, taking care of the football, the penalties, they do all those things, should be in good shape to hopefully move 7-0. And, talking this point in the season, we talked about this episode, Drew, looking ahead. This football team, you have a district opponent next week with Astronaut. So
that's where
already starting to get into it.
Yeah, really, like we said, the home stretch of the season. We'll talk about the Buffalo playoff picture and how that's shaping up in the segment with all the other fall sports. But things looking pretty good right now for this Buffalo team as that postseason starts to creep a little nearer. By the way, if you can't make it to Friday's game, be sure to follow along with all of the action through our VHS Buffalo social media channels. Check out our Facebook page listed as VHS Buffalo Athletics. Our X account can be found at Villages Buffalo, and we share photos, videos, and more on our Instagram at Villages Buffalo. And hey, we've got YouTube, of course. It's likely how you found us today, at Villages Buffalo there too. And as always, we thank you for your support and social following of VHS Athletics. All right, moving into the next segment, obviously football. We'll start with them, but everybody, starting to look ahead now to the postseason as we are in the month where all of that begins. So football right now, number one in the region, heading into district play, as you mentioned, starting next week. They've put themselves in a really good spot. We're looking at likely at least one home game in the playoffs, have all but secured a top 6 spot to make it to the regional playoffs, but looking pretty good for maybe some home field advantage as we get into the postseason here.
Yeah, that's the whole goal, right? I mean, when you talk to Coach Pettis, he's very much 1 week at a time, 1-0. We're not going to look ahead.
Yeah, not a conversation we're asking him to have right now.
No,
that's why we're doing it for you on the podcast.
Coach, skip this part. But yeah, I think this football team, you mentioned the number one ranking, it's a huge deal, I think, to these guys. They know, look, there's a long way to go, right? You talk about, you still have 4 regular season games left. Thankfully you're going to get 3 of them here at home, which is a huge boost. But yeah, those district games start next week. Astronaut is, we saw last year, losing by a point down over there down in Titusville. It's a very good football team. A lot of players coming back on that one, not looking past Crystal River, but in that playoff mindset. And of course, what's waiting at the end of the district slate on October 17th with a trip down to Brevard County and playing Cocoa, defending 2A state champion. But yeah, I think you feel really good. I think if you're VHS, because you've put that work in, you've earned that number 1 seed. On top of that number 1 seed, they're number 4 in the state in Class 2A if you start to lay the rankings out, and just one of 4 undefeated teams left in the state in Class 2A. So a lot of feathers in the cap, I think, for the Buffalo. But yes, unlike maybe some of the other sports, they feel good, but yet there's still a whole lot to be determined, right? You could have a district championship. You could have, you could be anywhere from that 1 seed in that region to a 5 or a 6 or, God forbid a 7 even if you fall far enough. So, and you don't want to be 8th because potential bid stealer out there, Class 2A District 7, is currently, I think the leader of that is Lake Placid out of that district. They are 11th or 12th in the rankings, so that district champion is going to come up and steal a playoff spot, one of the top 8 spots in the regions in the rankings. So overall, though, I think football in a good spot. Them, unlike maybe some other sports, though, it is very much 1 week at a time. See if they can continue.
Well, and again, looking through the remaining schedule, as you mentioned, the district games start, and that's where a couple of those tougher games of the season. Right now, Tavares and Southlake, the only ones that are kind of carrying the strength of schedule for VHS. Most of the other opponents have not really done a whole lot to support that strength of opponent that goes into the rating. So this back end of the season is where it's going to be really important, not just to, again, boost that strength of schedule rating, but to get those wins as well. And again, the best way to help your playoff positioning is direct wins over district opponents. So again, Cocoa, not the Cocoa team that we're used to seeing, already 3 losses on the season, I believe, and they're going to play Norland this Friday night, which is not an easy one, but I'm pretty sure there's sayings about caged tigers, cornered tigers.
Yes.
The Buffalo, I think that's definitely what they're going to see when they have to head out to Cocoa, and playing that game on the road is tough as well. So nothing to be taken for granted, obviously, but the Buffalo, to this point in the season, through 6 weeks, have done the work to put themselves in a good position. So looking forward to seeing exactly how that shakes out, but a home field playoff game and even potentially maybe a first-round bye potentially in the cards for this Buffalo squad.
We were talking about the big crowd that we've had. Can you imagine a home playoff game?
Home playoff game? Oh, man. That could
nice weather.
That could be real nice. Could be real fun. Moving on to the other fall sports. Volleyball is 10-11, which on its face doesn't seem great, but I did some digging this week. We've talked all season long about the difficult schedule that Michelle Mormon put together, one of the 100 most difficult schedules in the state. And that's for a team that's playing in Class 2A. So, I mean, you look at teams, they're playing up in classification. They're playing teams that are regional and state contenders,
right?
Both within and above their classification. This home stretch of the season, these last 3 games that they have remaining, they're going to be big, I think, more for building some momentum going into the playoffs, more so than actually securing a spot, because they're locked into their district spot right now. They will not be higher than second. They will not be lower than second. They are going to be the second seed in the district tournament. And it doesn't matter all that much because they're going to get to play the championship at home, which we'll talk about in a minute. But I really think that we've talked about it all year long. This team, when it's right, goes toe-to-toe with the best teams that they've faced.
Yep.
They can give everybody at least a game, at least a set. Can they turn that into, instead of a 25-23 loss, can they flip that and make it a 25-23 win? And then can they take that and turn it into a full match win? And that's the one thing that we've yet to see from them against a top opponent. Last real test of the season is going to be against Foundation Academy on Monday. And that's going to be the one that, if they don't show it then, we're going to have to see for the first time in the playoffs. And that's a tough ask. But, I mean, that is the last chance that we get to see them against the type of opponent that they're going to be facing in regionals before they get to the postseason.
Yeah, that Monday one is huge to me, and thankfully to be at home, right?
Yeah.
I think there's a little bit of a boost to that. But that Foundation Academy, grain of salt, it was the preseason, but dropped that one 2-0 to the Lions when they came here for the preseason classic. But I agree with you because, look, you're running out of time, right, to find that whatever that you can find to where you can be that consistent and take that one really good set that you might be able to play against a top tier team like a Montverde or Lake Highland Prep that you played earlier this year or Lake Mineola, whoever it is, and turn it into a best out of 5, and have that. But you're running out of time to do that. That being said, I agree with you. I think these last couple matches here in the regular season, huge for the confidence, right, too, just to get them feeling good about playing good. Went through that gauntlet that we've talked about all year. Look, there's no way you have to feel beaten down after that, right? I mean, it's built up as, we're going to play these 3 really tough opponents, West Orange, Lake Highland Prep, Montverde. We're going to get a look at a defending state champ, a regional finalist, our district champion. Let's see how we match up. And then you don't get any of those wins. And it's a bummer. I don't think anyone's asking them to hide that fact. But it's all about how you use it, and we're going to get to see Michelle Mormon, I think, really start to cook a little bit with this team and try to figure out a way, get in the kitchen, get in the lab, whatever metaphor, whatever's real a fantasy scenario you want to do, and get these girls to use it. Winning is one thing, losing is another, but you got to learn from it. And I think we are going to see them get to have a chance to do that. again, yes, I think getting to play the district championship, you teased to it, is huge. Getting to host that here, hopefully getting to it, right? You got to take care of the district semifinal first. But overall, I think I feel good about how they bounced back here Monday night at home against Lecanto. I thought that was a really, granted the quality opponent, maybe not on the level of a Montverde, obviously, that you're going to see in the district final potentially. But I think just overall how many different girls contributed, how many girls were at a good level of volleyball, and getting that confidence going, hopefully it bodes well for them.
Yeah, and again, staying healthy, which is something they didn't have at the beginning of the season, that full lineup. If everyone is good going into playoffs in terms of health, again, that lineup I think can contend with anybody. So just to give everyone an idea of what we're looking at, the district standings are pretty much not going to change between now and the end. They might a little bit in the bottom 4, but nothing meaningful as far as the Buffalo are concerned. So Montverde is going to be the number 1 seed. That's, I don't think, can change at this point. VHS is going to be number 2. Then it's a huge drop down in the ratings to Umatilla at 3. And then behind them is, I believe, in some order, Angeline Academy, South Sumter, and someone else that I'm missing.
A 4 seed.
The 4 seed. So, but VHS almost assuredly going to play Umatilla in that first round matchup, or I guess technically second round matchup, the district semifinal. But because of a scheduling conflict, Montverde is also going to be playing the semifinal, and if they make it the final, we assume they will probably be in that final Thursday night of the week of the playoffs. That'll be that week of October 16th, I believe, would be the night of the district championship. So that playoff picture is as crystal clear as you're going to get going into the month of October for a fall sport. So VHS, again, 3 matches still remaining in the regular season. Obviously, that Foundation Academy one, the big one, and then senior night at home next Wednesday against Mount Dora. Got to take care of business in those remaining 3 games. Got to take care of Umatilla in that first round. But, of course, the rematch with Montverde, both from this season and last year's district championship, is the one kind of looming large just a couple weeks out from now.
You almost want to, you don't want to certainly skip through a senior. I'd love to fast forward to that
Would
right
love to
now.
fast forward. Oh, man. Again,
smokes.
it's 2 weeks away. We're recording this on Wednesday. So 2 weeks from tomorrow will be that district final, 2 weeks from the day that we release this episode. So again, not trying to rush through, but that is one that we're excited for. VHS, again, got swept by Montverde in that stretch of 3 games, but 2 of the 3 sets were extremely competitive. And you got to wonder if maybe, again, a little more time healthy, maybe build some momentum going into that game, and then you get it at home.
Never know.
Never know.
Never know what happens.
Maybe it's enough. Maybe it's enough to turn it around. So, but VHS volleyball also in a good position to make regionals, whether or not they do end up winning the district, which obviously we hope that they can add that trophy to the case. But again, they've done a lot to put themselves in a good position. Part of it being that difficult schedule. So bowling in pretty good shape. Boys are 6-4. Girls are 9-1. Looking ahead to districts, obviously, once you get there, everything is pretty much level, right? There is some degree to which they're seeding because it determines who you're matched up with on lanes during the morning session, the 10-pin rounds. But at the end of the day, it doesn't actually matter who you're bowling against other than do you get more competitive with a good team next to you? That's really all it factors into, because all they do, just to explain the format, is they take the top 4 teams from the morning 10-pin session. Their 4 games, your total pin score, top 4 teams advance to a Baker tournament in the afternoon. Both of the teams this year, I think, are in a good spot. You just got to have a decent morning out there at Lakeside Lanes in Tavares.
Isn't it funny how it comes down to that, right? A whole season. Now, granted, that's the whole thing in sports, right? Your whole season, it comes down to just how you perform in one game, one match, or whatever. But I just think it's great how bowling, it's how are you going to do on that morning?
Yep,
That's it.
That's pretty much the whole thing. I mean, it's almost every other sport you're qualifying for the playoffs throughout the regular season. With this one, you kind of are just leading up to that, and you qualify in the morning. Every team makes it to that district tournament, and then it's just about, you just got to have a good enough morning to be in that top 4, and then it's kind of anybody's game. We've seen teams upset other teams. We've seen VHS pull upsets. We've seen VHS be upset on the girls' side in that Baker tournament in the afternoon. It's all about who gets hot in the morning and gets in, and then who can stay hot through the afternoon. That is a long day. It's a challenging day. It's really tough for young athletes. So I think the girls, despite the fact that they've been awesome this season at 9-1, I think they might struggle a little bit more because a lot of them have never done anything like this, right? It's 4 straight 10-pin games, which is twice as many as you play at a regular match. And then you have like an hour and a half break, and then you got to come back and get into these team v team Baker tournaments, which can have a lot of tension. Everyone's there watching your matchups. I mean, it gets, especially when you get into the elimination rounds, it gets really tense.
It's grueling.
So it is a long day. It's a much more competitive environment than what you get during the regular season. And it's at a house where historically VHS does not perform as well. They do really well here. Their home lanes at the Bolero site on 44, they did really well at the Villages bowling locations up in Spanish Springs and Lady Lake. But Lakeside Lanes has traditionally been a challenge for them. And every coach, whether it was Jack Smid, whether it was, whether it's Joe Hornstein now, any of the previous coaches, Craig Colopy, they all take them out there the week of and try to get them some extra time on those lanes. But for whatever reason, it's tricky. And they put down special oil patterns and stuff for the district tournament and everything like that. So it is never an easy day. But I think both teams are well positioned. The boys are young, but they've been there so many times now. I think that they're pretty safely in the top 4 teams going in terms of talent. It's obviously they have to live up to that in the morning to make it into that Baker tournament. But enough of them have been to this tournament enough times now that I think they're in a good spot to finally punch their ticket to that afternoon Baker.
Yeah, and I had a chance to talk with Joe Hornstein yesterday after they split yesterday on the road against Eastridge. And he told me, look, he feels pretty good about the boys. He goes, he thinks the talent's there, the wherewithal of knowing what they need to do to get things done. More so with them, it was just, can I just get them fired up for that morning segment, right? Like, that's all I really need to do because, like you said, they'd been there before. They know how it works. You kind of walk in there with the confidence can be good, but also you don't want it to be a lackadaisical confidence, right? Like, yeah, we've been here. Let's just walk in here and do this thing. We know what it's like. So he said he's got to motivate. The girls' side, he said he's felt they've really gelled together. They've done such a good job of coming together, losing just about everybody from that state runner-up squad a year ago, right? So to come back this year, the 9-1 record in head-to-head match play, that's great, and it's all gravy. But again, it's what you're going to do come district tournament time, that morning session, really try to make your path to advance on in that postseason. But he said he loves their makeup so far. So I think there's a lot to be excited about for him, even with some of the unknowns and the really coin flip of that morning session. Coach Hornstein feeling pretty good about it.
Yeah, and there is something to being the 1 seed, right? Performing well in the morning and getting yourself into a better position. Because you win the first round and advance to the final, you're in. You get to go to state. There is no regional tournament. So, I mean, if you get that 1 seed or even the 2 seed and beat the 3, but if you get the 1 seed and beat the 4 seed, you punch your ticket to the state tournament. So that's a pretty good position to be in. Obviously, South Lake, big contender for both of these teams.
Sure.
As long as they can avoid them in the first round, I like both of these teams' chances to have a shot to make it into that final, put themselves in a good spot.
Yeah, and that South Lake squad, that's the only loss for the girls' side this year, that 9-1 mark we talked about. And, of course, the boys' side, that the South Lake boys team is absolutely loaded. So, if you avoid that, that's just luck of the draw type thing, right? See how you end up. But, boy, you'd love to avoid them for sure.
And have to win 2 rounds, double elimination tournament. So you got to win the first kind of semifinal and then the actual semifinal, but then you're in. So, again, But putting yourself in the top seed definitely gets you in the best position to do that in that Baker tournament. So also another team that I think should have state aspirations, both the boys and girls golf teams playing
100%.
Really well right now.
Yeah, the boys especially. I've just been very impressed. I think I mentioned on a previous episode, but I think 4 or 5 times now since last season started have they rewrote the program record for the lowest 9-hole score out of the foursome. So they've been extremely good. At the top, Braxton Williams, has just been so strong. In fact, was recently named the Victor of the Month. Our partnership with Victory Sports Grills, our Athlete of the Month here, one of them on the boys' side. So he's been playing extremely well at that number 1 spot. But they're getting other contributions. Aiden Scrocky, Rhett Kirkland, Landon Howell. I mean, 1 through 4 is pretty set. Wade Martin knows what he has there, feeling pretty good. What's their record?
4-2.
4-2 overall in head-to-head match play. But get into some of these events. Won the 18-hole event for the Buffalo Invitational. Both the boys and girls swept that. Played pretty well down at the Wesley Chapel Invite down in the Tampa Bay area. But look, a lot similar to that bowling, right? I mean, it's just how are you going to show up in that district tournament? How are you going to show up in the regional? Because one-day events there. Obviously, you get to that state final and state tournament, it's a 2-day event. But down there, the districts and regions, just one. On the girls' side, youth movement, really good there. You have the senior Katie Allen, Abby Byron, Mackenzie Kasanich, 7th grader, playing extremely good golf for them on the girls' side. So I think there's a lot to be excited about there. You look at both squads, I think each squad has 3 individuals that they feel really good about that on any given day could be the top individual medalist. And then you have a 4th that's also extremely good at Avery Wu for the girls. And then, pick it out of a hat who's going to perform on the boys' side as that 4th. Probably Landon Howe would be my guess. But look, I think the aspirations for both teams are really strong. Wade Martin, play it close to the vest like he always does. We need to play better golf. Jimmy Marston, pretty ecstatic about his group, how far they've come in, I think, just his 2nd or 3rd year as girls head golf coach here. So really excited, I think, for their future. But again, you talk about the bowling and coming down to just how you're going to perform in one morning session, what the quality of the lane's going to be like, the oil pattern. What's the wind going to blow like on a golf tournament, a one-day district golf tournament, stuff like that. What's the course going to be like? What's the weather going to be like? How do you sort of mitigate those factors and play your best golf? Well, I think it's all the work you put in ahead of time. It's just trying to be at your best, trying to be at your most consistent, find your best 18 holes that you can play and put it together, and hopefully it's good enough. I think it will be. I feel really good, Drew, about both of these teams and their postseason hopes.
Yeah, looking good for both of them. Cross country as well. They've had runners at state, I think, each of the past 6 years, something like that. So looking to continue that streak again this year. The question is whether the teams can make it together or not. And that has been, in recent years, that has been the level of success that they've had and now expect to have. But it's really tough. It is really tough to get an entire team to the state cross country meet because you got to have 5 good runners, and you probably need to have 1 or 2 that are in that top 10.
Yeah, you do. It's such a tough thing because, like, right now on the boys' side, VHS, you're really strong with your top 3. They got 3 senior runners at the top. David Perbola, who finished 3rd last week at Sand Hill Scout Reservation at the Weeki Invite. That's another really good strong. Like, David's on an absolute heater. And he probably is. We were excited about October starting. Mm-hmm. He's probably ticked off that September's ending because he had quite a month of September, right? Getting the school record, the first event of the month in September. Running 16:31, I think it was 16:31.5, new school record for him. Then winning his first ever event, the Buffalo Invitational at Brown and Brown Farms in Oxford, and then now the 3rd place finish at the Weeki Invite at Sand Hill Scout. I mean, he's on a really good run. Hopefully, see that continue. Nate Burton, I think, is hopefully saving his best for last. He had been up to this point all of last year. I had to double check. I'm pretty sure he was the top male finisher for the boys every single event a year ago. And so this year now, here comes David coming on really strong. Look, I know the relationship those guys have, the competitive relationship that this team has, hopefully gets Nate going. Robert Carmona Rivero as well, another senior. He's been running extremely well right there as well. So those top 3, I think you feel really good about. JP Perbola, head coach of the boys, he feels really solid in those top 3. You feel good about those top 3 on any given Saturday, maybe a top 20 finish out of the 3 of them, top 15, top 20. The girls' side, Anderson Chandler, I think, is the best bet for a state meet participant. Obviously, a lot of running yet to go, but Anderson's been running really strong. Back-to-back top 20 individual finishes for her. Her times are starting to come down a little bit. So the team aspect of it, yes, you mentioned you got to get 5, right? You got to be right there and have 5 really strong runners. I'm seeing maybe 3 or 4 on that boys' side, 1 or 2 on the girls' side. You'd love to see more step up. It is what it is. It is what it is at that point. And look, if you can't get the team there, then you got to start your transition you have to transition the coaching to individuals, right? And really coaching them up. The good thing for the Buffalo is that they are going to see the Sand Hill course later in the year in the postseason. So I think the experience is huge. I think we talked about an earlier episode this year. I'd had no idea that confidence and experience were a thing in recreational running or competitive running, right? But it very much is. And so especially at a course like Sand Hill where a little bit of terrain to it, right? And some of what you're running on in different areas, different patches of the course, a little bit softer sand, a little bit softer ground, harder ground, wet, it doesn't matter what it is. So I think just getting to know when you can have your kicks and when you can go, it's going to pay off for him, hopefully. But overall, I think you feel really good on the boys and the girls side about at least getting some state representation this year.
Yeah, and they got to feel good about, again, having that course again, because every single one of those kids knows where they could have done better by the time they get to the end of the race. They know, okay, I needed to push through here, maybe take it a little bit easier in that spot. They're all timing themselves. They're all looking at their splits. So they'll have a pretty good idea going into that one. And they performed pretty well. So optimistic of the postseason for them. Swimming is another one. Same kind of format. It's really tough to get everybody through. Team championships in that sport are just based on how many points you can rack up as individuals. You don't advance as a team or get eliminated as a team. You simply advance by having enough swimmers reach the qualifying mark, being in the top X number. It depends for regionals and state exactly where you have to finish to get in. But it's another one where it's really tough to get individuals through. But we do expect a few individuals to make it, but the exact number is where it really starts to get kind of murky for swim.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but yeah, it was you and I on a swim broadcast last week when the Buffalo split against Lecanto here in a double duel. That we had talked about. Is swimming maybe the hardest sport to advance your team or win a team championship?
I think absolutely.
I think it's absolutely
it
makes an argument for it.
It's that in track and field, right? Because it's the same idea. It's just the number of athletes that you get through that qualify for each meet, each round. So, and then at that point, you're in a field of however many people. I would even argue with wrestling, because it's a head-to-head 1v1 bracket. Obviously it's about where your each weight class your wrestler finishes. But again, it's just those head-to-heads. It's one go in swimming. You get one chance basically to finish in the top 8 or 16, whichever you need to get to. And if somebody from another region outpaces you, or another district outpaces you, and you're not in that top 4 right away from your district, you have no idea if you're going or not. So it is really tough to do. And I mean, there's such, I feel like there are so few dominant swim programs that almost every other team, if you're not a bowls type of program that just has all of these dominant swimmers, these elite swimmers, you end up sending, your 3, 4, 5, if you have a really good year, your 8 best swimmers to a regional meet for most schools. So, if you can get 8 through to a region, you've got a good shot at a regional championship. But a state championship, I mean, it is really hard to contend with those top programs.
It's quite the aspiration. But if there's anyone who has high aspirations, it's Jackie Mitchell, right? Getting to talk with her, the energy, it just, you can feel it coming from her, just about the excitement that she's had. I love that she's given us her time during our swim broadcast, which we'll have another one Thursday night this week for you against Crystal River, lo and behold. So plenty of Pirates and Buffalo action going on here. But, giving us her time to come talk to us on the broadcast during the 500 and just give us some insight that we wouldn't be able to get otherwise. You can hear it every single week. She's excited. We've talked about it. We've talked about it in this program before, but the turnover, the girls, close to 90% are first-time varsity swimmers swimming and competing at this level. The strides that they have taken. Of course, you have Lara Braganza at the top, and, if you're going to hopefully pin your hat on one individual to win a state title, you're hoping it's Lara. The career journey that she's had, 8 individuals or 8 records that she's a part of here at the school, a handful of individuals, some as part of a relay. Lane Langenbrunner as a 7th grader has been so impressive and exciting to watch. And on the boys' side, too, I mean, Zion Lumpe and Braden Collins. I mean, there's Ryan Fosso. There's some guys there. Aaron Nikoxi as well.
Set a new record last week.
I mean, there's a lot to be excited about going forward as we start to look towards this postseason and look to making some headway. Yeah, there maybe you try to focus on the individuals and getting some swimmers through. But I think there's a lot to be excited about. The head-to-head records are good. The boys being 7-0, the girls 6-1. Crystal River will be hopefully another couple wins for this program this week on Thursday.
Definitely a challenge, though. That's a good program.
For sure. And divers as well.
And divers, yeah.
So, I mean, we're getting to see some really good diving competition come in. But, yeah, I feel like Jackie Mitchell, just the way that this season has progressed, and it has sort of felt there is this upward mountain climb to get this program with all the new faces swimming for this program this season to hopefully peak at their best. Hopefully peak at the right time and be at their best at the right time. Sort of feels like we're maybe trending towards that.
Yeah. And the big thing is I think they're in a really good position to contend for a district title. I think the number of swimmers that are not necessarily going to go out and win an event, but are going to be in the top 3 or 4 of an event at the district is going to be pretty good for them. There's the names that you expect. You obviously mentioned Bergenza. Pretty much every name that we've said so far, we expect them to advance from districts to regionals. The real question is how many more can sneak into that qualifying range and get through. I think that at the rate that they're dropping times, it's going to be some. It's just a matter of how many. And so then contending for that regional title, if Ella Dariano and Sebastian Price can place in the dive portion, that's an advantage they have over a bunch of teams at the district meet. And so then you're talking about, again, getting a couple more qualifiers into that regional meet, and then who knows. So, but I think that they're in a really good position for a potential district title. And then the regional one, again, it's just about how many Buffalo swimmers manage to make their way through to that round.
That's everybody.
I think that's everybody. That's every fall sport. And that is as much as we could glean from our crystal ball that we have here in the VHS Athletic Center. So, but yeah, that pretty much does it for this week.
That's it.
So if you want any more, we'll have another one for you a week from now.
Hopefully.
We'll be here. We thank you so much for watching this episode. For Cody Hills, I'm Drew Shaltree. Thank you to everyone who takes the time to listen to what we have to say. Thanks to all the folks here that support us, and looking forward to this home stretch of VHS Athletics. Until then, what do we say?
Go Buffalo.